I've been paying rent for years, but when my parents move in my golden child brother and his family for free, my mom demands I pay even more. So I secretly move out and tell her I don't live there. Now, enjoy the freeloaders. I'm 22, working part-time as a software developer while finishing my CS degree. For the past 2 years, I've been paying my parents $550 every single month. Not because they asked, but because I sat down with a calculator and figured out my exact share of rent, utilities, and groceries. I didn't want to be a freeloader. My brother Kevin is 23. He's been my parents' golden child since we were kids. Got his girlfriend pregnant at 22. My parents threw money at him for a wedding and helped him buy a house. Last year, he moved out with $80,000 from both families to start some construction business. 3 months ago, he shows up with his wife and 2 kids, says he sold his house to invest in a massive deal, claims he's waiting on a $2 million payout, and once it comes through, he'll buy us all a mansion in the richest part of New York. My parents ate it up like he was some kind of prophet. Here's the thing. They moved into our 3-bedroom house and immediately took over. His kids are 3 and 5, screaming at 6 o'clock a.m. every morning. Toys everywhere. The living room, where I used to code in peace, became their personal playground. My brother and his wife started treating me like hired help. Can you pick up diapers? Can you watch the kids? Can you grab takeout on your way home? They never offered to pay for anything. Not once. I kept my head down and focused on work and school. I need to graduate, save money, and start my own company. That's the plan. That's been the plan. Then last Tuesday, Mom walked into my room while I was studying. She did that thing where she doesn't make eye contact, just starts talking to the wall. Household expenses have gone up, she said. With 4 extra people, everything costs more. I knew what was coming. She wanted me to start paying $750 a month instead of $550. I asked her the obvious question. Is Kevin paying anything? She got this annoyed look on her face and just left without answering. The next morning at breakfast, Dad ambushed me. Same speech, same demand. I glanced at my brother across the table. He looked down at his plate like a coward and kept eating. I tried explaining that I'm barely scraping by as it is. I'm working part-time, paying for school, saving every dollar I can. They didn't care. Dad just stood up and walked away mid-sentence. Since then, they've completely iced me out. Won't speak to me, won't look at me, act like I'm the problem. Meanwhile, Kevin's family is living rent-free, eating our food, running up the electric bill, and contributing absolutely nothing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how I've spent my whole life trying to earn their approval, paying rent when I didn't have to, working 2 jobs through college, getting straight A's, saving responsibly, and none of it mattered because I'm not Kevin. Thursday morning, I started apartment hunting. Found a 2-bedroom place 15 minutes from campus with 3 other students. My share would be $400 a month. I'd actually be saving money. I signed the lease that afternoon. For the next 3 days, I moved everything out while my parents were at work. My books, my clothes, my desk setup, everything. I was careful, quiet, took multiple trips in my beat-up Honda. My brother saw me loading boxes on day 2 but didn't say anything. Saturday morning, I packed the last of my stuff. I left my house key on the kitchen counter next to a note I'd written the night before. It said, "I don't live here anymore. I found a place for $400 a month. You wanted me to pay more, so I'm paying less somewhere else. Good luck collecting rent from your golden boy." I drove to my new place and started unpacking. 6 hours later, my phone exploded. 17 missed calls from Mom. I finally answered the 18th. It wasn't Mom. It was Kevin's wife, whispering. After I left, Mom spent an hour screaming at Dad, blaming him for how I turned out. He'd snapped, told her she'd chosen Kevin over me for 22 years, and walked out. He'd been sitting in his car for 4 hours. Kevin's wife started crying harder. She said Dad just turned the engine on. She could see the garage door was still closed. Kevin was trying to break the window, but Dad had locked all the doors from the inside. I dropped my phone. For maybe 5 seconds, I just stood there in my new apartment, boxes everywhere, and my brain wouldn't process what she'd just said. Then I grabbed my keys and ran. I called 911 while I was driving, told them the address, told them what was happening, and the dispatcher kept asking me to slow down because I wasn't making sense. I wasn't making sense because my dad was sitting in a running car in a closed garage and my brother apparently couldn't break a window fast enough. I got there in 9 minutes. There were already 2 cop cars and an ambulance in the driveway. Neighbors were standing on their lawns, staring. I saw Kevin sitting on the curb with his head in his hands, and his wife was holding their youngest kid, just rocking back and forth. The paramedics had Dad on a stretcher, oxygen mask on his face. His eyes were closed and he wasn't moving. I walked up and one of the cops stopped me. I told him that's my dad, and he let me through but told me to stay back. I watched them load him into the ambulance. Mom was standing by the front door, arms crossed, just staring at nothing. She didn't even look at me when I walked past her. I asked one of the paramedics if he was alive. He nodded. Unconscious. We got here in time. He's breathing. I felt my knees almost give out. I followed the ambulance to the hospital in my car. The whole drive, my hands wouldn't stop shaking on the steering wheel. I kept thinking about that note I left on the counter, about how I'd been so proud of myself for finally standing up, for finally leaving, and now my dad was in an ambulance because of it. When I got to the ER, they wouldn't let me see him right away. They said family only, and I said I am family, and the nurse said immediate family, which apparently meant my mom. She was already back there somewhere. I sat in the waiting room for 2 hours on one of those plastic chairs that makes your back hurt. Kevin showed up an hour in, but he didn't sit near me, just paced back and forth by the vending machines, checking his phone every 30 seconds. Finally, a doctor came out and said Dad was stable, carbon monoxide poisoning, but they'd gotten to him fast enough. He'd be okay, physically anyway. I asked if I could see him. The doctor looked at a chart. He's asking for you, actually. Room 12. I walked down that hallway and my stomach was in knots. I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't know if he'd even want to talk to me or if he just wanted to yell at me for leaving. When I opened the door, Dad was sitting up in the hospital bed. He looked so tired, man. Like he'd aged 10 years in one night. There were dark circles under his eyes and his skin looked gray. He saw me and just nodded toward the chair next to the bed. I sat down. Neither of us said anything for a minute. He didn't say anything for a while, just stared at the IV in his arm, at the monitor beeping next to him. Then he said, "I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting that. I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to leave," he continued. His voice was rough, probably from the oxygen mask. "I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you. I'm sorry I let her turn me into a coward." I didn't know what to say, so I just sat there looking at my hands. "Kevin told me the truth 3 weeks ago," Dad said quietly. "There was no investment, no big deal. He gambled it all away. The whole $80,000, every single cent. He's been losing money on sports betting apps for over a year." I felt like someone had just punched me in the chest. "He begged me not to tell your mother," Dad went on. "Said he'd fix it. Said he just needed time. So I've been paying his debts. Gave him almost $15,000 from my savings to keep the loan sharks from showing up at the house. I picked up double shifts at work, worked weekends. I thought if I could just keep it quiet long enough, he'd stop. He kept promising me he'd stop." He looked at me then, and I swear I'd never seen my dad cry before that moment, but there were tears running down his face. "I knew you were paying rent," he said. "I knew you were struggling with school and work, and I still asked you for more because I thought it would help cover what I was secretly giving to Kevin. I thought I could balance it all out. I'm so sorry." I told him it wasn't his fault. I told him Kevin was a grown man who made his own choices and he shouldn't blame himself. Dad shook his head. "Your mother knew. She's known for months." That stopped me cold. "She's been giving him money too," Dad said. His voice cracked. "I found out yesterday. She has a separate bank account I didn't even know about. Inheritance money from her mom that she never told me about. She's been funneling money to Kevin behind my back for months, telling him it's to help him get back on track, telling him not to worry." I just sat there processing that. My mom knew. The whole time she was demanding I pay more rent, the whole time she was watching Dad work himself to death, she knew Kevin had gambled everything away, and she was secretly funding his addiction. Dad reached over and squeezed my hand. His grip was weak. "You were right to leave. I should have left too." I stayed with him for another hour. We didn't talk much after that. Nurses came in and out, checking his vitals, adjusting the IV. Eventually, he fell asleep and I went back to the waiting room. Mom was there, sitting by herself in the corner staring at her phone. When she saw me, she stood up. "I need to talk to you," she said. We went outside to the parking lot. It was almost midnight. The air was cold and I didn't have a jacket. My breath came out in clouds. "I know what you're thinking," Mom started. "Do you?" I said. I wasn't trying to be confrontational, honestly, but I was exhausted and angry and just completely done. She looked away, wrapping her arms around herself. "I was trying to help him." "You knew he gambled everything away," I said. My voice came out flat. "For 5 months you knew, and you kept giving him money." She didn't deny it. She just stood there, staring at the pavement. "Dad was working doubles," I continued, "destroying his back, his health. You demanded I pay more rent when I could barely afford what I was already paying, and the whole time, you were secretly funding Kevin's gambling addiction." "He's my son," she said quietly. "He needed help. I'm your son too." She flinched like I'd slapped her across the face. "He needed support," she said. "He was trying to fix his mistakes. I wasn't going to abandon him when he needed me most." "What about me?" I asked. "What about Dad? Did we need you?" She didn't answer, just stood there shivering in the cold. I turned to walk back inside and she grabbed my arm. "Don't tell your father about the account, please. He's already been through enough tonight." I pulled my arm away. "He already knows, Mom. He told me." Her face went completely white. I left her standing there in the parking lot and went back inside. I didn't see where she went after that. I sat in the waiting room until about 3 a.m., then drove back to my new apartment and crashed on the couch fully clothed. I didn't even make it to my actual bed. The next day, I woke up to my phone buzzing on the floor. Text from Kevin's wife. "Can we talk? Please. It's important." We met at a coffee shop near the hospital around noon. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. Her eyes were bloodshot and she had her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She was wearing the same clothes from the night before. "I'm leaving him," she said as soon as I sat down with my coffee. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded. "I found the apps on his phone," she continued. Her hands were shaking around her coffee cup. "Last night at the hospital. He left his phone on the table when he went to the bathroom and I looked. I shouldn't have, but I did. There were 4 different betting apps. DraftKings, FanDuel, Bet365, all of them. And I went through his transaction history." She stopped and took a breath. "He's lost $47,000, she said. $47,000 in the past year and a half." I felt sick to my stomach. "My parents gave us $35,000 for the down payment on that house," she said. Her voice cracked and she wiped at her eyes. "They took it out of their retirement savings. My dad worked for 40 years, and they gave us that money because they wanted their grandkids to have a stable home. And Kevin gambled it. All of it. He told me it was going into a business investment. He showed me fake documents he printed off the internet, bank statements that didn't exist. I believed every word." She started crying and I handed her some napkins from the dispenser on the table. "I trusted him," she said. "We have 2 babies. And he looked me in the eye every single day and lied." "I'm sorry," I said, because I didn't know what else to say. "I called my parents this morning," she continued. "Told them everything. My dad cried. I've never heard my dad cry before. He just kept saying he couldn't believe he trusted Kevin with their money." She wiped her face and took a sip of coffee. "I'm taking the kids and going to my parents' place in Ohio," she said. "I already called a lawyer. I can't do this anymore. I can't watch him destroy everything and keep pretending it's going to get better. Your mom thinks she can fix him. She can't. Nobody can fix him except him, and he doesn't even think he has a problem." She left that afternoon. Didn't even go back to my parents' house to get her stuff. Her dad drove the 6 hours from Ohio to come pick her and the kids up from her friend's apartment where she'd been hiding out. Kevin tried calling her about 100 times throughout the day. She blocked his number. Then he started calling from different numbers, so she just turned her phone off completely. Dad got released from the hospital 2 days later on a Thursday morning, but he didn't call Mom to pick him up. He didn't go home. He called his brother, my Uncle Phil, who lives upstate about 4 hours away, and asked if he could stay with him for a while. Uncle Phil didn't even hesitate. He drove down that same day to come get him. I met them at the hospital to say goodbye. "I'm not going back there," Dad told me in the parking lot while Uncle Phil loaded his small bag into the truck. "Not while she's still choosing him over everything else. Over me. Over you. Over reality." Mom had apparently been blowing up his phone since he'd woken up that morning, begging him to come home, saying they could work through this, saying she'd made mistakes but they'd been married for 26 years and didn't that mean something. Dad had deleted every message without reading most of them. Before he left, he hugged me tight, told me he was proud of me for getting out, told me to focus on school and my future and not to worry about him. Then he climbed into Uncle Phil's truck and they drove away. I watched until I couldn't see the truck anymore. I went to my parents' house one more time about a week later to grab a few things I'd forgotten in my rush to move out. Some textbooks, a jacket, my good headphones. Mom's car wasn't in the driveway, so I used my old key that I'd forgotten to leave with the note. The place was a complete mess, worse than before. Toys still scattered everywhere like a tornado had hit. Dishes piled up in the sink, some with food dried onto them. The trash was overflowing. It smelled stale, like nobody had opened a window in days. And on the kitchen table there was a stack of bank statements, just sitting there in the open, like Mom had been looking at them and got interrupted or left in a hurry. I know I shouldn't have looked. It was an invasion of privacy, but I was angry and hurt, and I needed to know the truth. I sat down and went through them. 5 months of transactions, all from the account Dad had mentioned, the secret one from her mom's inheritance. Transfers to Kevin's account over and over. $500 here, $800 there, $200 on this date, $2,000 on that one. Some weeks there were multiple transfers. I pulled out my phone and added it all up using the calculator app. $23,000 she'd given to Kevin over 5 months, while she was asking me to pay an extra $200 a month. While Dad was working double shifts and coming home so exhausted he'd fall asleep on the couch still wearing his work boots. I heard the front door open and my heart jumped. I shoved the statements back into a messy pile roughly where I'd found them. Mom walked in carrying 2 bags of groceries from the discount store down the street. She saw me standing there and froze in the doorway. "What are you doing here?" "I forgot some textbooks in my old room," I said, trying to sound normal. "Used my old key." She set the bags down on the counter and noticed me standing near the table, saw the bank statements there. Her face went hard, this defensive look I'd seen 1,000 times. "Those are private. You left them out on the kitchen table," I said. "You still shouldn't have looked at them." $23,000, I said. The number just came out. "That's how much you gave him." She didn't say anything, just started putting groceries away mechanically. A can of soup in the cabinet, bread on the counter, a carton of eggs in the fridge. "Dad worked himself half to death," I continued. My voice was shaking now. "I paid rent I didn't have to pay. I gave you money I needed for textbooks and food, and you gave Kevin $23,000 to gamble away while lying to both of us. I was helping him recover his losses, she said quietly, not looking at me. He just needed support to turn things around. He had a plan. He's an addict, Mom. You didn't help him. You enabled him. You made it worse. She slammed a can of soup down on the counter so hard I thought it might dent. Don't you dare lecture me about my own son. You don't know what it's like to watch your child struggle and suffer. He's not struggling. He's using you. He's a grown man who made terrible choices and you're protecting him from the consequences. She pointed at the door. Her hand was shaking. Get out of my house. It's the bank's house now, I said. You missed 3 mortgage payments. I saw the foreclosure notice in the mail pile by the door. Her face crumpled, but I grabbed my textbooks from where I'd set them and left anyway. That weekend, Dad showed up with Uncle Phil to get the rest of his stuff. I wasn't there for it, but Kevin told me about it later when he called asking if I knew where Dad had gone. Apparently, Mom had gotten on her knees in the driveway, literally on her knees on the concrete, begging Dad to stay, crying, saying she'd go to counseling, saying she'd fix everything, saying she loved him and needed him. Dad had looked down at her and asked her one question. How much money did you give Kevin while you were demanding our son pay you more rent? She wouldn't answer, just kept crying and begging. Dad had walked past her into the house. He loaded up his truck with his clothes, his tools from the garage, some furniture that had been his father's. He took his name off the joint bank account right there on his phone while Mom watched. He canceled his credit card that she had access to. Before he left, according to Kevin, Dad had walked right up to me, except I wasn't there, so Kevin must have meant he told Kevin to tell me this. He said to tell me, "You were right to leave when you did." Then he drove away and hasn't been back since. Mom spent the next 3 days on the couch, crying, not eating, just crying and staring at her phone, waiting for Dad to call. Kevin tried to comfort her, bringing her tissues, making her tea she wouldn't drink. He told her that everyone else had given up on them, that people didn't understand, but they still had each other, and that's what mattered. 2 weeks after that, I was at my apartment studying for midterms when my phone rang. Number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was screaming. Someone screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Then I realized it was a man's voice and he was screaming Kevin's name. "Is this Kevin?" the man shouted. "No, this is his brother who is—" "You tell that piece of shit he stole from us! He stole from his own children! $35,000! It was Kevin's wife's father. His voice was hoarse like he'd been yelling for a while. "We gave him our retirement money!" he shouted. "We trusted him with our daughter, with our grandchildren, and he gambled it all away. He lied to our faces for over a year." "I know," I said. "I'm sorry. I just found out. Is your mother there? Is she there?" "I don't live there anymore," I said. "Good, because she knew. She's been giving him money to hide his gambling. She's as bad as he is." I heard a woman's voice in the background, probably his wife, telling him to calm down. He didn't calm down. "You tell your mother she's a disgrace," he shouted. "She helped him destroy our daughter's life, our grandchildren's future." Then he started crying. This grown man I'd never met was sobbing on the phone. 40 years I worked, he said, his voice breaking. 40 years to save that money, for retirement, for our grandkids' college, and he threw it away on sports games and poker. "I'm so sorry," I said again, because what else could I say? He hung up. Later, I found out he'd called the house too. Kevin told me about it a few days later, said the man had screamed at him for 20 minutes. Then he'd started yelling at Mom, who had apparently picked up the phone when Kevin tried to hand it off, yelling at her for enabling Kevin, for being part of the problem, for helping him hide it from everyone. Mom had hung up on him. Then she'd turned to Kevin, according to Kevin's version of events, and said, "Don't worry, honey. I'll help you get back on your feet. Now that all the negative influences are gone, you can finally recover and start fresh." When Kevin told me that, I asked him straight up, "Who does she mean by negative influences?" He got quiet for a second. Then, "I think she means you and Dad. She keeps saying Dad was too hard on me and you abandoned the family." Of course she did. A month passed. I tried to focus on school, which was hard because my brain kept circling back to everything that had happened. But I finished a major project for my software engineering class, a full-stack web application I'd built from scratch. Got an A on it. My professor even asked if he could use it as an example for future classes. Started applying for full-time developer positions for after graduation at companies in the city. Dad called me once a week like clockwork, usually on Sunday mornings. He was doing okay, he said. Uncle Phil's place was quiet. He'd gotten a part-time job at a hardware store just to have something to do. He was seeing a therapist twice a week. Said he was sleeping better than he had in years. Learning how to set boundaries. Learning that it was okay to walk away from people who were hurting him, even if they were family. Then I got a call from a number I did recognize. Mom's cell. I let it go to voicemail. She left a 3-minute message rambling about bills and the mortgage and how hard everything was. I deleted it without listening to the whole thing. She called again the next day, and the day after that. On the 4th call, I finally answered. "I need help," she said immediately. "No hello. No how are you." "With what?" "Money. I lost my job. That caught me off guard. What happened? They let me go, she said. Her voice was flat, defeated. I'd been missing too many days, calling in sick, leaving early to deal with things. They gave me warnings and I didn't think they were serious. They were serious. She worked at a dental office doing scheduling and billing. Not a high-paying job, but steady. Benefits. She'd been there for almost 8 years. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. Despite everything, I didn't want her to lose her job. I need help covering the mortgage, she said, and the utilities. The bills are piling up and I don't know what to do. I took a breath. Is Kevin paying rent now? She got quiet. Mom, is Kevin contributing anything? He's still recovering, she said. He's stressed. I can't put that kind of pressure on him right now. He needs to focus on getting better, not worry about money. That'll just make him want to gamble more. I actually laughed. Not a happy laugh, a laugh of disbelief. So you want me to pay your bills while he lives there completely free? I'm your mother, she said, and her voice got hard. I raised you. I fed you. I put a roof over your head for 18 years. You owe me. I don't owe you anything, I said. I paid rent for 2 years when I didn't have to. You demanded more money while secretly giving Kevin thousands of dollars. You made your choice. You chose him. Live with it. You abandoned this family when we needed you most, she said. Her voice was shaking with anger now. No, I said. I left a sinking ship. There's a difference. You drilled the holes yourself. I hung up. She didn't call back. 2 months went by. I heard through the grapevine, Kevin mostly, who still texted me occasionally asking for money or advice, that the foreclosure was moving forward. Mom had missed 3 mortgage payments. The bank had sent multiple letters. She'd ignored all of them, hoping Dad would come back and fix it. He didn't. Then one day Kevin called me sounding panicked. Mom tried calling Dad, he said, begging him to help save the house. And? He asked if she'd kicked me out yet. I waited. She said no, Kevin continued, and he just hung up. She had a complete breakdown, man, like on the floor, sobbing, saying she can't lose the house, she can't lose everything. What did you do? I asked. I sat with her, Kevin said. Told her it's okay, that everyone else gave up on us, but we still have each other. I wanted to reach through the phone and shake him, but I just said, okay, and hung up. The house sold at auction 6 weeks later. I found out because Kevin texted me a picture of the notice taped to the front door. Mom had to be out in 30 days. She found an apartment on the other side of town, a cheap 2-bedroom in one of those buildings from the 70s that hadn't been updated since. The kind of place where the hallways smell like cigarettes and old carpet that's been shampooed too many times. The kind of place where the walls are so thin you can hear your neighbors' conversations and their TVs and their arguments about who finished the milk. Kevin moved in with her. The first week, according to what I heard later, things were fine. They were unpacking, organizing, trying to make it feel like home. Mom had bought some cheap furniture from Facebook Marketplace, a couch with a weird stain on one cushion, a kitchen table with wobbly legs. But by week 2, Kevin had completely taken over the space. He left dishes in the sink for days until they started to smell, ate all the groceries Mom bought without replacing any of them or offering to pay, had his friends over until 2 a.m. on weeknights, being loud, playing video games, leaving beer cans everywhere. He treated the place like it was his personal crash pad, like Mom was just the landlord he didn't have to pay. Mom asked him to clean up after himself one morning before she left for a job interview. Kevin looked at her like she'd just insulted his entire existence. Are you serious right now? He said. After everything I've been through? After losing my wife, my kids, my house, my whole life? You're really going to nag me about dishes? Mom had apologized and cleaned them herself before she left. I heard about all this from a neighbor of theirs who happened to be the mom of a girl I went to high school with. Small world, I guess. She lived 2 doors down from Mom's new apartment. She told me she'd seen them moving in, recognized my mom. She said Kevin was loud, rude to Mom, acted like he owned the place. Mom looked exhausted and defeated every time she saw her in the hallway. 3 weeks into living together, Mom went to the ATM to pull out money for groceries. She'd gotten a part-time job at a grocery store doing cashier work, which was a huge step down from the dental office, but it was something. She'd had $1,800 in her checking account from her last paycheck and some money she'd scraped together. The ATM said her balance was $604. She stood there staring at the screen, confused. Checked it again. Same number. She went inside the bank and asked to see her transaction history. The teller printed it out for her. Someone had withdrawn $2,200 in cash 2 days earlier, Tuesday afternoon at 3:47 p.m., from an ATM across town near a casino. Mom drove home with her hands shaking on the steering wheel. She found Kevin asleep on the couch, one arm hanging off the side. She went to where he'd left his wallet on the kitchen counter, opened it. Her debit card was inside. She stood there holding it, and I imagine something must have broken inside her in that moment. But Kevin told me she didn't even yell when she woke him up. She just asked quietly, "Why is my debit card in your wallet?" Kevin sat up, rubbing his eyes, saw what she was holding, and he didn't even try to deny it. "I had a sure bet," he said, "like a guaranteed thing. I was going to win it all back and surprise you. Double it, maybe triple it. Pay off your credit cards. Get us into a better place." Mom just stared at him. I was doing this for you, Kevin said, his voice getting defensive, to fix our money problems. And now you're being ungrateful about it? Making me feel bad? You stole from me, Mom said. I borrowed it. I was going to pay it back. I can't believe you're making me feel like a criminal for trying to help. He stood up, grabbed his jacket. I need some air, he said. I can't deal with this negativity right now. And he walked out of the apartment. Mom called Dad that night. I know because Dad called me right after and told me about it. She'd been sobbing on the phone, he said. Told him Kevin had stolen $2,200 from her account. Told him she didn't know what to do, that she couldn't afford rent and food now, that everything was falling apart. Dad had asked his usual question, calm and even. Are you kicking him out? She'd hesitated. He said he could hear her breathing on the other end, thinking about it. He doesn't have anywhere else to go, she'd finally said. Dad's response was simple. Now you know how I felt. And he hung up. He told me he'd said it without anger, just as a statement of fact. Then he'd turned his phone off and gone for a walk. A month later, things shifted again. Kevin met someone, a girl named Brianna who worked as a bartender at a place downtown called Rookies. She was 26, had her own apartment, a decent-paying job, and apparently thought Kevin was charming and misunderstood. He'd gone in there one night with a friend, chatted her up, and they'd exchanged numbers. Within 2 weeks, Kevin was spending more and more time at her place. He'd come back to Mom's apartment at weird random times, usually just to sleep when Brianna was working night shifts or when he needed to shower or grab clothes. He stopped keeping any food there, stopped doing his laundry there. He treated Mom's place like a storage unit with a bed. Mom noticed, obviously. She tried talking to him about it one night when he came back to grab some stuff. Are you planning to move out? She asked. Should I be looking for a roommate? Kevin shrugged, shoving clothes into a backpack. I'm just seeing where things go with Brianna. No need to make it a big deal. Are you serious about her? I don't know, Mom. Maybe. She's cool. She gets me. But he was basically living at Brianna's. He stopped contributing anything to Mom's place, which wasn't much to begin with since he'd never paid rent anyway, didn't buy food, didn't help with bills, barely even spoke to Mom unless he needed something. I know all this because Mom called me one night around 10 p.m. I was studying for an exam and almost didn't pick up. But I did. I don't know what to do, she said. Her voice sounded so small and tired. About what? Kevin. He's never here anymore. When he is here, he just sleeps or grabs something and leaves. He's using me as a backup. I can see it now. I didn't say anything at first. I don't know what to do, she said again. Kick him out, I said. She was quiet for a long time. I could hear her breathing. But then I'll be alone, she finally said. You already are, Mom. She hung up without saying goodbye. 2 weeks later, Kevin officially moved in with Brianna. He didn't tell Mom he was leaving, didn't have a conversation about it, didn't help her figure out if she could afford the apartment on her own. He just stopped coming by. Mom tried calling him. He didn't answer. She texted him asking if he was okay, if he was coming back. He'd reply hours later with short answers. I'm good. Don't worry about it. I need space. When she finally got him on the phone, Mom asked when he was coming back. I'm building a new life, Kevin said. I wasn't there, but Mom told me this later. I need space from all the negativity. Brianna and I are doing really well, and I just need to focus on that right now. When are you coming back? Mom asked again. Maybe when you're less dramatic about everything, Kevin said. Then he hung up. Mom told me all this when she showed up at my apartment one evening completely unannounced. It was a Wednesday. I'd just gotten home from class and was about to heat up some leftovers when there was a knock on the door. I opened it, and there she was. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, hair pulled back messy, no makeup, eyes red and puffy. Can I come in? She asked quietly. I hesitated. Every instinct told me to say no, to protect my peace, but something in her face made me step aside. She came in and sat on my couch, just sat there for a minute not saying anything. Then she started crying, not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears running down her face. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry for everything, the favoritism, the money I gave him while I demanded more from you, for choosing him over you and your father. I see it now. I see what I did. I sat down in the chair across from her, didn't say anything. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, she continued, wiping at her face with her sleeve, but I need you to know I understand now. I see who Kevin really is. I see what I did to you and your father. I see it all. I watched her cry for a moment. Part of me felt bad for her. Part of me was still angry. Mostly, I just felt tired. Did you kick him out of your apartment? I asked. She looked down at her hands. He doesn't live there anymore. He moved in with his girlfriend. Does he still have a key? She nodded slowly. Just in case he needs a place to stay, if things don't work out with her. I stood up and walked to the door, opened it. You're still protecting him, I said. Even now, after everything he's done, after he stole from you, after he abandoned you, you're still leaving the door open for him. Please, she said, standing up. You need to leave, I said. She looked at me with this desperate, broken expression, like she was waiting for me to change my mind. to hug her, to tell her it was okay. When I didn't move, when I just stood there holding the door open, she walked past me and out into the hallway. I closed the door and leaned against it for a minute, listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway. The semester ended in a blur. Finals came and went. I was buried in code and exams and final projects. I barely had time to think about my family because I was running on coffee and 4 hours of sleep and pure determination to finish strong. I had 3 job interviews in the final 2 weeks. One with a startup in the city doing AI stuff. One with an established tech company in Boston that offered remote work. One with a consulting firm that paid well but would have me traveling constantly. Then, graduation day finally came. I graduated top of my class. Computer science, summa cum laude, GPA 3.97. I'd busted my ass for 4 years, worked part-time through all of it, paid my own way through everything. And when they called my name and I walked across that stage in my cap and gown, I looked out into the audience. Dad was sitting there in the 3rd row. He was wearing a suit I'd never seen before, probably borrowed from Uncle Phil. He was clapping so hard, smiling bigger than I'd ever seen him smile. When I caught his eye, he stood up and kept clapping. After the ceremony, after the photos, after all the congratulations from professors and classmates, Dad found me in the crowd. He hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "I'm so proud of you," he said into my ear. "So damn proud." We went to dinner at this nice steakhouse downtown, the kind of place with cloth napkins and waiters in vests. We sat by the window and Dad ordered the most expensive thing on the menu and told me to do the same. "This is your day," he said. "Order whatever you want." We talked about my job offers while we ate. I told him about the pros and cons of each one. The startup was exciting but risky. The Boston company was stable but corporate. The consulting firm paid the most, but I'd never be home. "Whichever you choose," Dad said, cutting into his steak. "I'll support it. You've earned this. You worked hard for this. How are you doing?" I asked him. He smiled. "I'm good. Really good, actually. I'm in therapy twice a week now, learning how to be a better father, how to set boundaries with people, how to not let people walk all over me just because they're family. That's really good, Dad. I'm learning a lot about myself," he continued, "about why I let things get so bad for so long, why I enabled your mother to enable Kevin, why I didn't protect you the way I should have." He paused, looking down at his plate. "I'm sorry I didn't protect you. You're protecting yourself now," I said. "That's what matters." He smiled at that, and I saw his eyes get a little watery, but he didn't cry, just nodded and took another bite. My phone buzzed during dessert. I pulled it out. Text from Mom. "Can I come to your graduation? I know I don't deserve to be there, but I'd really like to see you walk. I'm so proud of you." I stared at it for a second, read it twice. Then I put my phone face down on the table without responding. Dad noticed, but didn't say anything. Just pushed the dessert menu toward me and asked if I wanted to split the chocolate cake. Later that night, back at my apartment, I was scrolling through social media while unpacking my graduation stuff. I saw Kevin had posted something. A picture of him and Brianna at some beach. Both of them in swimsuits. Big smiles, his arm around her waist. The sunset in the background. It looked like something from a vacation ad. The caption said, "New chapter, new life, new beginnings." No mention of Mom. No mention of his kids. No mention of anything from his past. Just him and his new girlfriend pretending like the past year hadn't happened. Like he hadn't destroyed his marriage, abandoned his children, stolen from his own mother, and ruined multiple families financially. I scrolled down to the comments. There were about 30 of them. Friends congratulating him. People saying things like, "You deserve this, bro," and "fresh starts," and "happy for you, man." And right there, posted 4 hours ago, was a comment from Mom, "Miss you, honey." Kevin hadn't replied to it.